All right, everyone. I'm going to just hop into a couple little housekeeping things before we get going. I just want to remind everyone this is a recorded webinar. We will use the Q&A for any questions. So if you want to, pop those in there, Doug may answer it live, or we'll circle back at the end of the presentation to make sure we get everything addressed. You can also use the chat window here if you want. But those tools should be available at the bottom of your screen if you want to go ahead and get those opened up. Let's see here. Also want to remind everyone, join JobTread Pros. It's our Facebook group. I think we're almost 7,000 members now, so it's a really great community, great way to get questions answered, collaborate with others, learn best practices, get help, anything you may need. We've put a lot of effort into building out this community to be a very supportive community where people can help each other, get any support you need, JobTread related or just general business. We're always happy to help. And I've got builder stories. So this is my weekly podcast. We've got an awesome episode coming out tomorrow. You'll definitely want to tune into that. I think it's our 99th episode. So the following week we'll have episode 100. Really excited that I've been able to spend so much time, learning from all of you and from business owners, from construction leaders, really helping people to understand, how they've built their businesses, why they got into it, the challenges that they've had, how they've overcome them. I think it's a great way to hear from others, what their journey's been like, and hopefully be able to walk away with a couple nuggets, things that you can implement that'll help you, be able to reach that same level of success and hopefully even quicker. And we've got our beginner boot camps. I want to remind everyone about that. If you're new to JobTread, we would love to have you come down for a 2-day beginner boot camp. It's here at our office in Dallas, Texas. This is a great way to really dedicate time to learn the fundamentals, get the basics of JobTread down in this workshop, type format, classroom style as well, where we will walk you through getting you set up, helping you learn all the ins and the outs. It's also a great way to network with others, who are going through that same implementation at the same time. We also like to have a little fun. We've got our happy hour on the Thursday night, so it's definitely a good way to kind of see the behind the scenes, get to meet the rest of the JobTread team. We'd love for you all, to come out to those. We did actually sell out the one that we've got tomorrow and Thursday, but you can see we've got some upcoming dates, jobtread.com/bootcamp. You can learn more about that. And lastly, want to remind everyone, we are already selling tickets for JobTread Connect. I think we've actually already sold around a third of the tickets that we'll be able to sell for this event. We did sell out last year again at 1,000. So, it's something that you want to put on your calendar. Be sure to grab your tickets early. You also want to get your hotel room reservation. You'll want to stay at the hotel venue if you can. There are a few others around, but definitely pencil this in on the calendar. Make sure you're planning to attend. It is a must-attend event. It is a great way to learn about everything from JobTread, but also just general business skills, strategies, everything from sales and marketing to, the back office to project management. We really try to put together a very well-rounded curriculum, and it's all sessions that are driven by you all, by industry experts, by the people who are leading their businesses. Everyone has to submit a call for presentations. We look through a lot of them. It's very, very hard to make the decision, but we're, really very focused on trying to make sure we're providing the best educational content that we can that will help you level up your business. It is a great way to learn and to meet others, as well as a lot of our industry partners. They come out, they set up their booths. You get to learn more about their value-added services and things that they can do to help you grow your business. So I really hope to see everyone there. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Doug Dwyer here. He is the president and CSO of DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen. I have had the personal privilege to be able to get to know Doug over the last several years, and just being able to see how he has built such an incredible organization. The strength of your organization is second to none, Doug. Going out to some of your events and just seeing and getting to know all of the DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen franchisees, it is just such an awesome thing to see another community that is just so strong at its core. You guys truly, put a lot of effort into making sure that you are helping your people, helping this community grow together. And I absolutely love seeing it. And it's seriously, it's an honor and a privilege to have you on today, Doug. Thank you for taking the time, and love to see what you've got for us.
Well, Eric, thanks. And thanks for everybody that is joining. It's fun to see the chat and people from all over the country. We're in 25 states, so it's fun to say, oh, they're close to that one, oh, that's a neat market. Anyway, so Eric, again, I want to give kudos to you, and what a great job you and your team do with JobTread. You guys walk the talk. You do it very well, and we're glad to partner with you. And I'll be, as I get through this, I'll be talking about a technology stack, and JobTread's definitely a key component to our job stack. It's one of those key components to what we need to do to run an excellent company. So we're glad to partner with you, and we're glad you have an open API, by the way. So with that being said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. I first just want to talk about how do you achieve strong margins and a quality of life? Because there's a lot of ways to make money in remodeling or any kind of business. And in my background, we've been in a lot of different businesses over the years, my family. And so, but the challenge is, you can get strong margins, but does it cost your health? Does it cost your family? Does it cost a marriage? You know, a lot of people, it does. Eventually it catches up to them. And so our deal with DreamMaker and our focus, our brand position is strong margins and a quality of life. How do you get both of those? That's harder to do. It's harder to get the quality of life mixed in there with it. So that takes more thinking and planning and strategy and purpose and how you're doing it, and less winging it. And in the beginning, you know, we all have to learn, and then you start building and growing. So my goal on this time to present, obviously, is to share about DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen and our franchise and the franchise opportunity. But my goal is that whether you ever look at DreamMaker or not, or become a franchisee or qualify to become a franchisee for DreamMaker, my hope is that you'll leave with at least 2 or 3 nuggets that really help you in scaling and growing your business. So that, just want you to know, my intent with this time today is to add value to everybody that's listening. So I've got on the screen, you know, strong margins and quality of life. So the first, I'm going to tell quite a few stories, probably a handful of stories, and then share a couple models that we use to help grow the organization that are key to any company, frankly, in building a great organization that you can scale and achieve the strong margins and quality of life. And so I'll talk about those a little bit more. But this first couple is Jeff and Ruth Fargo out of the Woodlands here in Texas. And these folks met at West Point. West Point and end up getting married and spent 6 years, you know, in the military, retired out of the military. Both went to work for ExxonMobil. Both were doing big project management for ExxonMobil, but they were looking for an existing business to buy. They couldn't find anything worth buying because a lot of systems don't have the structures and processes or good financial systems, any of that stuff. And so they said, you know, they had interest in this space, and they found franchising, and they found DreamMaker. So here's a guy that was making healthy 6-figure income, left that job, start DreamMaker. You don't replace that overnight, but after 3 years, he was doing really good with us, and now he's been with us about almost 4 years now as a franchisee. So taking somebody not from the industry that had an affinity towards construction and remodeling and design, you know, when he built his own home, he was involved in that process, but to help them, how do you grow a business? That's much different than doing the task. And so for them, the big thing is they wanted his 5S, and I remember the first one was faith, and then family, and then it was fitness, and I forget the other ones. But this guy is very focused on what he wanted to accomplish and do. But one of the big things for them is they wanted to have more time with their family, get involved in the community, make a difference in the community, and really serve God better with their lives. And so, but they didn't want to lose the quality of life with their family. And so even in growing the business, he's been very active with his family. So I just think it's a good picture there, you know, business and the quality of life that you want in the business as well as outside of the business. So just to give you some background on DreamMaker. So what are some of the things that we bring to the table? What do we help people do? Well, you got to have a gross profit margin. So when we look at gross profit, we look at cost of goods sold in the standpoint of you've got your material, you've got your labor, subs we call trade partners. You got all, for us, in our cost of goods sold, it's all the vehicle expense and insurance for those vehicles, the gas, permits for the job. So we have a lot in the cost of goods sold. So once all those expenses are done, what kind of gross profit margin are our franchisees producing before they have to pay overhead and looking at a net profit? And so this chart comes out of what we call an item 19 in our franchise disclosure document, or for short FDD, just to learn a little bit about franchising. And so our top 25% of our franchisees, what you're seeing on this screen, the 52.7, that was the average produced gross profit margin for full service kitchen, bath, interior remodeling projects. We're not talking siding, windows, and doors or specialty remodeling. We're talking full service remodeling. And that's what we know you need to really achieve strong margins and quality of life. You got to really get the numbers. So our second quartile is achieving a 48.7. So either one of those is excellent. And then 46 is still strong as an average across our network. So that's when that's a key component to strong margins. And then our job average, to kind of understand the scope of work that we do, our overall job average for our network is a little over 47,000. Our top group's at 88, the next group's at 58. And so you kind of get the picture. Well, what does some of the work that we do look like, just to give a flavor of that? And then I'm gonna lead up to a couple stories and share one of our models. Like, how do you do this? How do you make these things happen? So this first project is a before on a kitchen. And I think this was we do our own, we have call it Dream Awards. We do our own awards contest for our network. And I think this was in the under $50,000 category, or right at that, or a little over. And so we didn't change walls or anything like that. It was kind of pull and replace, put something new, but a dramatic look. And then this next one is one where we're moving walls. And so you take a look at this job. This is like the 70 to 100 or $100 to $150,000 project, where we blew out walls, expanded this kitchen, and really did something special. All of them were special, but you get to see, wow, now they have a place to entertain and hang out with their guests when they come over to their home. And then give you a couple bathrooms. Here's a very small bathroom project before and after. And then here is a job that's in $70 to $100,000 bathroom category, where you get, bathrooms are hard to get one photo that shows them all. But so then the next angle will be from the back of the tub in the window back into that bathroom. So this is the kind of quality and caliber of work that our folks are doing. And that's just part of it. Really, it's the character of how they do the business and how they interact with the clients that matter to me. You have to do this. And we also have to have that, that we're treating people so well that they're just thrilled that we show up on time. Wear shoe protections before we go in the house. Just all these little things that say, hey, we're the professional that you can trust to take care of this, to get it done on time and on budget. So then we have a design center as part of our model. So this is a picture up in Bentonville, Arkansas, of one of our design centers. So they got a beautiful exterior, their design center there. And then this is actually an interior of a design center down in Omaha, Nebraska. Beautiful looking place. And then here's another interior of a full master bathroom, and then a selection room. So those are some of the key components to a design center. Some are large, you start out with a smaller one and you expand as your business grows. And then, so I want to shift gears into a conversion. There's quite a folks, you all are in business for yourself, I assume. Maybe some of you are thinking about getting into this space, whatever that is. But Eric Anderson down in Swainsboro, Georgia, you can see his original company, ABCO, American Anderson Builder Company. He was a home builder. And then in the Great Recession, man, he had to pivot and get into remodeling. Some of you know what that's like and have been through that and had to pivot. So he went from having a track home and barely got out of that alive and got into remodeling. So he had a small remodeling company in a small town of 7,000 people in Swainsboro. And so it's really too small to start as a startup with us, but since he was already successful in a small area, we decided to work with him. And he works Tri-City area, in this area, a couple 100,000 people. And he had this little small company, and last year he almost quadrupled the sales from what he originally did when he first started with us. And so he went from that company to DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen, and on his trailer rim there above the tires, those are awards that he's won. So he's an excellent operator, does great. His dad works in the business and sales with him. His sister helps with the office management. She's super sharp. So there's great people. And then here's another gentleman, Chuck Leo. Chuck Leo's a guy in Omaha. He was a general contractor doing pretty much everything. Did quite a bit of kitchens and baths, but he did everything. And he just wanted, he made six figures, he made good money. Money really wasn't the issue. He lived a quality life from a money standpoint, but he didn't from a time standpoint. He worked tons of hours and poor quality life. That's how it is. So he's been with us about 3 years now. They've been able to roll in a business of 1.8 million in sales, making six figures. And well, why would you join a company if you're already doing that? You made it. Well, no, he didn't get where he wanted. He wanted to increase sales and increase margin. And I will tell you today, I'm governed by the Federal Trade Commission, so you guys are prospective franchise owners because I'm presenting this, so I can't quote. I know our numbers. All I can quote is what I was quoting out of the FDD and those numbers. But I will tell you, his net profit is better than a lot of companies I talked to was their gross profit just after cost of goods sold. So this guy, he does incredibly well, but he works very hard, does incredibly well. And he brought on a partner when they did this transition, Jamie Nolter, and they have just done, they've just done it right and done really well with us. So how do you do that? You got to have a transformational process. And what does that process look like? So as you look on the screen, the first thing is a business model, and you got strategies and tactics. So you got to have an overall model, and I'll get into that in the second model a little later in this presentation to give a little bit more detail. But we're going to start very big picture, and then you got to have training. You got to have training modules because we're human beings, not computers. So we can't just download it all overnight like AI and wake up and we're different the next day. So you have to have a strategy of training and all the different disciplines: sales, marketing, finance, production, leadership, management, all of that. So what is that training? What is the training needed to scale your business to the next level? How do you get it? Where do you get it from? And then a franchise coach, a business coach. In our case, it's a franchise coach specific to our model. How do you build this business, a kitchen, bath, interior remodeling business that occasionally does some exterior? So that and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Then it's peer networking. If you have other quality peers, then they're going to help you grow your business, especially if they're on the same system. If you're on different systems and different models and different businesses, you're an exterior remodeler, an interior remodeler. Do you do subs? Do you do employees? It gets very complicated to decipher all that. So the more similar you are, the easier it is to help each other. And so that's that. So you got that process, right? So you've got this transformational process that never ends. You start it, but it never ends. You always got to be committed to growth. And then you see in the middle there, you're going to see the code of values is what holds it all together. And that's what we call our code of values is foundational to all of our processes and systems. And it's how we live. Treating others as we'd like. We live our code of values by treating others as we'd like to be treated. And it is one of our code of values. We believe that in superior service to our customers, our community, and to each others as members of the DreamMaker team. So that's the glue that ties us all together, the big umbrella that holds our whole network together, and is the underpinning to everything. And we're, as you'll hear me talk, I'm going to bring up God and faith, and we're definitely a faith-based company, come from that, but not hokey. If you go to our website, DreamMakerFranchise.com, you'll see our code of values out there, and it has, a proverb. So let's look at a proverb we believe, one of our code of values, we believe management should seek out and recognize what people are doing right and treat every associate with respect. I mean, that's just good, smart business. But the proverb under that actually creates a little bit more depth. Proverbs 18:21, it says, words kill, words give life. They're either poison or fruit, you choose. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with that, right? And we believe, so as we look at those, you got to plan, you got to grow. And so let's look at this model in a little bit more detail. So now if you look at the top left corner off the business model, you have a technology stack. So that's where we have, think of it like a brick wall. You know, you've got your accounting system, you got a CRM system, you've got your design software, and then you've got an estimating software and production management software where JobTread fits into our technology stack. And then we have what we call a data warehouse that keeps the information so that, you know, we're building so that whenever we have to change something out, we don't lose our data, or, you know, we're stuck in prison with a vendor that we don't like anymore. And you've probably experienced that before we have. and it's one reason we got to JobTread. So you got to have a great technology stack, and that's ever changing, especially with AI. It just keeps going. And then you know, you got proven successful systems. On the right side, the top one, you got the 5 pillars of marketing. Everybody, you know, one pillar is online marketing, but there's 4 other pillars. How are you going to successfully grow that business? And we have what we call a GPS system. How do you grow out of all the marketing tactics and strategies? How do you build that business to build the lead generation plan? And that 741 model, which is actually an older model that I'm going to share with you. We've advanced it more, called the DreamMaker ecosystem. But it's still a great model. It's what we had up to just recently, and it's one I'm willing to share and let you guys learn from, and hopefully help you scale your business. And then as you look at the training, you got all these different trainings that we offer, you know, in getting somebody launched, to workshops, to mentor visits. So we use all the things that we've learned about human dynamics. How do you people grow? How do you make them change, get better? And then the bottom is the coaching, you know, and choosing the right priorities. We have a thing called a stage of growth map. How do you go from, you know, 700,000 to 1.2, or how do you go from 2.2 to 2.6, or 2.6 to 3.2? What hires do you need to make? What do you need to be preparing before you make that step? And how do you protect profitability between growing from that, you know, one stage to the next stage? And fortunately for us, being nationwide in 25 states and being in business over 25 years now, that's given us enough mass to learn to even build that system. We couldn't build that originally. We had to it took 15 years to learn enough to actually build a stage of growth map. Like it's called, one person on staff that helped me in documenting and building it, called it a coach in a box. You know, it's just very powerful. I remember Jay Nutting, a franchise, came out, he's an engineer out of the automobile industry up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He forever, he had the stage of growth 4 and stage of growth 5 organizational charts that go with each stage. There's an org chart. He's like, oh, that's where I want to get. Now he's at stage of growth 6 or 7 now. So he's past those, but I remember how it helped him get to the next level. So as I'm talking about systems, processes, it's real stuff. It's real tools you need that you've got to find. And some of you, I'm just going to be real honest with you. I'm always going to be honest, but just be real frank with you. Some of you are fiercely independent. Franchising's probably not going to be for you. You know, you're going to want to do it your way. You're just not willing to submit to a system at the level that you need to go to the next level. So it's whether it's DreamMaker, my family used to own another brand, Mr. Rooter Plumbing, as a national brand, and some other brands. It doesn't matter what brand it is, you gotta follow the system. If you won't follow the system and the coaching, it doesn't work. It works by following the system and using it. And even in JobTread, we have a customized version of JobTread on how we do it. It's, you know, so it's that kind of level of system and intentionality and how you have to grow something. So anyway, so the franchise coaching, told you some about that. Then the peer network, and JobTread does a great job of providing breakout sessions and panel discussions. So it's a way to learn and grow. So again, Erica, hats off to y'all. Y'all provide a lot of value. And again, in our world, everybody's in the same exact business. Everybody's learning from each other at a more intimate level. They're not competitors at all, and they're just so willing to help each other. And that's what we don't award franchisees to people that aren't willing to be a team player. That's not the kind of people we want. We want somebody that's a team player, wants to make a difference. The better they do, they want their cup full and overflowing. They want to get some extra things in life. But they also want that cup to overflow and help others and bless others in their community, the people that work for them, their clients. And then we have peer groups built inside DreamMaker. So we have peer networking groups that start out like online in the early days, and then you could advance into a next level group where you're actually visiting 2 locations twice a year. So it's like having your own informal board of directors that helps you grow your business, that knows your business. And that's just another breakthrough technique to help people grow faster, to help you and me learn faster, get it to the next level. And that's the thing, is how do we change quicker in a responsible way that helps us get our businesses to the next level? Because we have to, we got to get past who we are to that next level. I keep advancing this company, I delegate, and I've got to, this is different. I haven't been in this space before. I've got to help groom and let go so that the company can go to the next level. So anyway, there's more I could share about that, but that gives you at least a high level overview. And then, so with DreamMaker, we've been in business long enough now that we've seen second generations take over. So this first one is Ed and LaVon Gribben. They were a home builder. I remember the first time of all times, right? 2008, before the crash, Ed became a franchise. and he was building a $2 million house. He was a home builder, and he's like, he never could get the remodeling to really go like he wanted to. And so he sought us out, and he became a franchise. And the cool thing is, Ed will still tell you today, he's told me so many times that I believe him. He's like, Doug, if it wasn't for DreamMaker, we wouldn't have made it through the recession. You guys, because of the systems, the process, the support, you worked with us, and we made it through. And there were people around him that went bankrupt and that went out of business during the Great Recession. And then, so he grew the business, got a general manager in place, had his son in production management, his daughter-in-law in sales. And he got to the point where it's like his brother had this big commercial construction company. So he moves up to the West Virginia, Ohio area and runs a division for his brother, doing really well with that. And just, they do the accounting long distance and just manage it. So he's a absentee owner at that point, having the team run it. Then eventually, right around COVID, his son and daughter-in-law bought the business. And so this is Joey and Jen Gribben who've bought it, and they've just taken it to the next level, because Ed did a great job implementing a lot of the system, getting things in place, and he got it to a certain level. And then they have now taken it even to a higher level in their margins and how they're producing it. You can see their team there. And so they just done a great job down, and they're in Stuart, Florida and Jupiter, Florida, and do very, very well. And then the second example, and last on the conversions, is a family out of Utah, 2 families, Steve and Annette Coombs and Brad and Corinne Stevens. Steve had an architectural company and was building that, doing very well, but he wanted to grow a division in remodeling. So he brought on Brad Stevens as a partner. Brad had a very small remodeling company. He would run the production side of the company. Steve would be a general manager, hired a salesperson out of the gates, and they built it. And then his son retired out, left the Air Force, came to work for the company, and they put a transition plan in place. And then ultimately, Nate Coombs and Emily bought out Steve and Annette's portion of the business. And then Kevin and Amber bought Brad's out. And Kevin is the son-in-law, so he's in the production management side of the business with that. So it's neat to see one generation, the next generation, not just take over, but scale it up. And not everybody's going to do it like that, but these 2 examples, gosh, they have just done it so well. It's so beautiful to see. Others will take it over and they maintain it. And hey, that's success too, because the odds of making a second generation, it's not the highest number, and third generation it's even lower. So then we get into an exit strategy. So if you think about are you going to, if you're not going to do a second generation, are you going to sell the business? And what's the next chapter in your life? So Everett and Patty Gray, they were a conversion franchise. He was a home builder / remodeler in Bakersfield, California. Very low margins, not, winging it, right? Not really a lot of systems and structure. And how do you lead and manage, right? How do you put the marketing plan together? We call it a process flow map. It's 183 stops. When a lead comes in the door, how does sales handle it full? How does it interact with production? How do they interact with the office? How do they interact with accounting? So 183 stops, and then there's a chronological checklist. What are all the things you do to run that? To have that grow that business. And so then they started implementing that and getting that in place. And then last year they exited, they sold the business. So now they're getting to focus on all the grandkids that they have, and they've worked long and hard with their lives. So DreamMaker's helped provide them a nice exit, and they're on the next chapter in life. And it produced an opportunity for this gentleman, Brian Denny, who was in the heavy durable medical equipment, wheelchairs and stuff like that. He had a business that he built up, sold that, had been in other business background, and the guy hasn't missed a beat. He came in, he took the business over, and he's scaling it. So he brought some of the needed leadership skills to the table, and then he's been very wise in implementing the system, sticking with the system with DreamMaker, and advancing some of our improvements that the Grays hadn't got done. So he's taken that business to another level. That's a picture of him and I at our annual convention. We had it in Reno this year, and we rented out the Automobile Museum up there and had our vendor exhibit. In fact, JobTread was there, Michael. And so this is just a picture of him and I while we're at that event. So then this is the other tool I wanted to share with you, another model, so that you could, I'm not saying copy it, but you can take it as a structure to help give you more ability to scale your business. So it took us a lot of years. So about 2008, we built this model. And so it's been quite a while ago. And you got to have a way to organize all the structures and systems in a business. So, and if you'll see on this, it says essential systems, software, people system, operating system, hardware, hard systems, hardware. So so it's using a computer, like I have the laptop on my desk here. It's got an operating system. It's got software in it. So if you think about your business with this kind of framework, we have a design center in our model. We've got vehicles, we've got equipment, we've got computers. So you have those hard systems. Then you got people systems. With DreamMaker, we start out at ownership. What do you want out of the business? We know the big umbrella is you want strong margins and a quality life. And so if you will come in and follow our systems and our structure, repeatedly we help people do that. If you don't do that, you're going to struggle. So don't even do it. If you're not going to follow the systems, not going to follow the coaching, don't look at any franchise company, because we owned a bunch of them at one point, and we're not DreamMaker. I'm not new to this space. We had 7 brands when we sold a bigger company. But if you look at this, it starts out with ownership, then it's leadership and management and administration, and then you get to the essential system, financial. You got to have the right financial model. If you don't have the financial model, how do you know you're going to make the money? How are you going to get the pay you want, have the profit you want, provide the benefits to the staff that you want? To have a net profit after you do all of that, and then have a good exit strategy. So when we think about financial model, we're thinking about all that. And then marketing. If you don't have leads, you're not going to get jobs. Then you got to have we don't sell the cheapest, but we're the best. So you have an awesome sales system. So you got to get a sales system in place. So if you don't have a great sales system, you got to get a great sales system. And then design. How are you going to handle design? How are you going to handle production? Communication is key in a business. And then personnel. Without the right people on the bus in the right seats, you're not going to build a company either. So it takes a ton of best practices. So it's taken us literally decades to build this. It didn't happen overnight. It's taken us tens of millions of dollars to build this. And and we're still learning and growing. It's because we live in a dynamic environment, but we're at an excellent level now. And you go to Franchise Business Review, you can check us out. Out of 400 companies that did that, we're in the top 10%. So I'm not telling you, our people are telling us that, hey, we're excellent at what we do. Nobody's perfect, but you can be excellent. So that's what, hopefully you got some nuggets out of this as you think about scaling your business. How do you grow it to the next level? What's needed? And it gives you some more structured ways to think through it versus just this gobbledygook mass in your head like we used to have. So our 2030 vision, so if we look out into the future for DreamMaker, we want to we're close to 50 locations in 25 states across the nation. We want to be at 100 locations by the year end 2030. And we want strong, stable, profitable growth done with excellence. And that word excellence really helps govern that. I don't want to grow so fast that we lose excellence. So it's having that right balance. There's a lot of franchise companies that just want to grow, and that doesn't mean that every franchisee is going to be treated well. And nobody's going to do it perfect, but we're very intentional that our coaches, we have one coach, max 20 to 25 franchisees per coach, where some brands may have one coach for every 40 franchisees or 70 franchisees. And then that doesn't even count our marketing team. We have a marketing team currently of 7. So we're doing a lot to help, promote DreamMaker, get it out there. I mean, as a franchise, you got to run your own marketing plan, but there's a lot of support we're given to help do that really, really well. And then I don't even, I've told you this, Eric, but Lisa and Tom Lowry were attendees at the JobTread Connect. And they were looking for software. How do we go to the next level? And they found DreamMaker. And they just came on board. They live in Utah, and they have a business. They do government projects, all kinds of different government projects, and traveling all over the place. So Tom, his quality of life's not great on the road, way more than he wants to be. So they're in Utah. Her parents are aging back in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And so they're relocating. They're in the process right now, relocating from Utah to Arizona, and just came on board with us here. So what I like to wrap up with is what's next for you. If you would like to be considered to look at DreamMaker as a potential franchisee, we don't award everybody a franchise. We're looking for above average people that got some leadership skills, can follow a system, they're coachable, they're humble enough to learn and grow, they've got the economic investment to do it right, they're a culture match. Look at our code of values. If they think that's Pollyannish, then probably not a match. Treating others as we like to be treated, we think that's how it should be done. But I'd like to invite you, if this has intrigued you at all, interest you, click on the QR code. It'll take you to our website. So for somebody that's looking at converting a business, and if you're a startup, there's another page you can navigate to. But I invite you to do that. But also, I know, again, some of you are going to be fiercely independent. Franchising may not be the right match for you. Maybe it is. But really grapple with that. You're in business, and franchising, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So you're going to. I like when we had a company called AirServe, air conditioning and heating, and during one phase of growth with them, it was a lot of existing companies are like, how do you protect the assets you got and grow them? Because hey, there's always competition, there's always winds of change. So how do I do that? Okay, so I want to still maximize my independence while being a franchise. So you have to be willing to submit to the model, and you're gonna have to take steps of faith to grow that. I've done this a long time, but if you do, then you can be like the Andersons, be like Chuck Leo and Jamie Noelter, and see your business really transform and go to another level from where you are today. So Eric, that's really what I wanted to share with the group today, and welcome to take questions.
Yeah, appreciate that, Doug. And again, if anyone's got any questions, you can throw them out there in the Q&A. But can you just talk just a little bit more, kind of like what is that? So the application process, like How long does that take? What does that involve? Are you doing, in-person type meetings? Is there, kind of just a little bit more about, just so people kind of have an understanding of, because I know a lot of people apply but don't end up making it through. So maybe any tips that you could give for, for people out there who are interested in exploring it.
Yeah. So on our website is it's like a stair step. It'll have a 8-step mutual evaluation process. We want you to look at us. Are we a right match for you? But are you a right match for us? We're both going to invest money, time, and energy, and we both want a great return on that investment. Now, with our company, we have a real family feel. We call our annual convention a reunion. So I want you to know that. So that's why we really are picky. We really want people that really are team players willing to follow the system. So step one in that mutual evaluation process is really us finding about you, learning about you. What are your goals, dreams, and desires? What are you trying to accomplish? Learn about your background, some of your skills and abilities. What have you done with your existing company? And what's the gap? What are you trying to change? So if we find that out, and if it looks like it's a good match, then we'd move to step two. And then that's getting in, it's part of what I presented today, but getting in, sharing more about our model so you can learn more about who we are and what we are. And if that looks good, and then we get into an application that you would fill out. And this gets into the financial wherewithal on your end, all of those kind of things. And we also do a test, if you would, that helps. Are you somebody that would really fit in franchising? So that's a good step to tell you and us, are you a good match or not? And that's something. None of these tests are perfect, but it does help create some indicators to ask questions to double check things. And then we get into the FDD process, the franchise disclosure document, for you to learn about that. We talk about the investment, what that takes, and then you're going to meet some of our team to learn more about it. And then eventually, step 6, we're going to invite you, if you qualify, we'll invite you to come to a discovery day to meet me in person here in Waco, Texas, and talk and meet the team. We're pretty national, and we're not centralized anymore. Our staffing's all over, but there's a core group here, but others that you'll get to meet and just learn more about the history of the company. And so we'll take you through that whole step, and then we have a candidate fit evaluation committee, and there's eight main measurements that we're looking at. We're looking at, are you a good match for us to be awarded to become a DreamMaker? So I think we're going to be fair with you early up front. If we just don't see it's a match for some reason, we'll tell you early. We're not going to waste your time. We don't want you to waste our time. Respect each other's time and really go into it. But it's a very good process. It's a professional process on how to evaluate franchise opportunity.
Great. We got a question here. So from Scott, if you're an established design, build, remodeling company, do we have to change the suppliers we use?
You don't have to change the suppliers. No, if you have good suppliers, you can do that. You may want to, because some of the discounts that we get will be better and some won't, right? And then if you've got a good supplier that has a short timeline on cabinets, that's always a good thing too. So you're not. We're not like there's some brands. If you're a food brand, you got to use these certain vendors. In remodeling, that we have more flexibility on vendors, but we do want to know that they're quality and improve them. Be aware that they're the caliber of the quality projects that we want produced. So that is a requirement.
And also, can you be a franchisee and still own and run another company?
You can be a franchisee and own and run it. Yes and no. So to be a DreamMaker, so there's several levels to this. So if you're a home builder and you want to build a remodeling business, yes, you could have a separate company and do that. The critical thing, and I'm telling you, we had a bigger company called the Dwyer Group, which is now called Neighborly, has 32 different franchise brands in it. So this is like experience that's multiplied over and over, not just DreamMaker, but you got to have a key person that's going to drive and build the business. So the best thing to do is to replace yourself, typically is to replace yourself in your current business because you know it, it's running well, and put somebody in place, run it, and then you have the investment, you're putting the things on the line, and you'll have more grit and determination to build DreamMaker, and then you can really get it up and going. Now, if you are an existing remodeler and you're doing kitchen, baths, interior, exterior, whatever, then we require that you convert that business into our brand, because we found we used to just 20 years ago, we'd let you just convert the kitchen and bath side and keep the exteriors and even the additions separate. And it doesn't work well because you can't serve two masters well, and you get divided energy and interest. And you know, Chuck Leo wanted to do that. And that's where we made that change years ago. We said, you know, even though they were doing some stuff, a lot outside kitchens and baths, we just finally said, keep it focused. And I remember at one of our mentor visits that he went to go visit one of our seasoned franchisees at our program mentor visit. And he told our franchise coach, thanks for forcing us to do that, because I can't imagine what it'd be like if we were trying to do both. And they have just killed it. I mean, if everybody could hit the numbers and have the progress they made, I mean, it's just amazing what they've accomplished. They've worked very hard to do it. It's not magic. It's work ethic, it's systems, it's processes. So if you have a more detailed question on that, you know, maybe we could take that offline. But that's the big picture question or answer.
Sure. So Andrea has asked, how would someone that has a successful remodeling company but has no or few employees find the quality and qualified personnel to man the company to the level that would be required for a franchise?
Yeah, so we have a system, you know, you have how do you find people, and then how do you interview them, right? So where do you find them, and then what's the process to go find those quality people? That's number one. Then number two is, which is, most people do a terrible job. I mean, terrible. Most people don't have a good interviewing system. Our main interview's 2 to 3 hours. So and then there's part of our system that if you'll just follow that one system, it'll increase your hiring effectiveness 25%. So there's a lot more, there's a more sophisticated, much better way on how to find people. But the hiring one is the one that I see people do. The gap is the biggest, and the biggest improvements need to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. Recruiting and finding the right people is a very challenging thing. So I'm sure that's very helpful to have you guys' proven system there. She also asked, so building a facility the size of DreamMaker is expensive. How is that cost handled?
You mean having a design center?
I assume that's what she's referring to.
Yeah, so there's an investment in a design center, typical initial build out, and we don't try to, you know, I like to tell people, if you know, the people like say, oh, go big or, you know, go big or go home. I say, well, if you go big, you'll probably have to go home broke. And so we're more strategic. We're not trying to be a showroom like Home Depot or Lowe's. We're a design center. It's a more intimate space, you know, a display area of, you know, could be 600-800 square feet to start out with, 1,000 square feet to start out with, then offices, meeting room, and your warehousing, staging area could be in a different location. Half our franchisees, it's separate, half it's in the same location. But you're going to have a, you know, $140,000 investment typically in that initial design center build out.
Yeah.
And that's part of that investment in getting started, right? Because this is, you know, you're wanting to go to the next level. You're really wanting to make some, we're not talking just try to make incremental change. You really want to make significant improvements in your business.
Sure. And William here asked if, so how do you present your budget proposal with a 50% margin to your clients and get them to accept it?
Yeah, so you got to have a lot of sales training so that you have a better approach. So that doesn't happen overnight. You gotta learn it. It takes practice. So um, the biggest thing is when you understand the financial side of the business and you understand what it takes to really make a healthy net profit after paying yourself as a fair wage in the marketplace. Like if you had to really replace yourself, what would you have to pay somebody that really does an excellent job? Once you understand the financial model, so half of it's getting rid of the junk in your head and your heart about all of that. And I remember we have a franchisee. He hired a new designer, and he was selling lower than where we liked him to be at. He'd always negotiate himself down, and he hired this lady. She came in and she knew what the system was, and she had experience, knew they were part of a bigger brand, and she's like, so she just did it, and boom, they were hitting the margins, and he's like, and then he kind of went back into his own habit again at first, and she's like, what am I doing? And he's like, I'm doing it to myself. This is crazy. And so I will say I've had conversions tell me DreamMaker, with all that we do and the whole enchilada, that transformational process, with all that we bring to the table and everything, they said, you gave me the confidence to charge what I needed to charge. And so it's a whole process. So I wish it was just an easy thing. But if you're not at least at a 40 margin, a 33 to 40 margin, then you need to raise your prices. If you're showing up on time, you're doing good quality work, and you're getting good referrals, you need to raise your prices. Now, if that's all price-based, your clientele may have to change.
Yeah. So follow-up question, is the margin disclosed at the time of the sale?
No, it's you go buy a car, they don't tell you what margin they're making when they sell you the car at a national dealership. We don't tell them that. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, William, we see people all across the country that are able to sell at a 50% margin, but it definitely takes a lot of training, a lot of skill to understand, how to do that. So it sounds like this could, be a great benefit there. I think we've gotten through those questions. Any other, okay, follow-up. So he said, we work on a cost plus a fee model.
Yeah. So it's we've worked with people on that, and it's, you can get so used to that. It's a change. It's a tough, I've ran into people, they feel like, I'm just charging too much. That's just too high, and they emotionally inside can never overcome that. So I've only ran into one. We did have to end one relationship with a franchise because he just was never going to get it. He just couldn't. He had too much of a technician-minded mentality than a business mind, and I don't mean that. I'm not putting down technicians, but he just thought about, this box I bought for this box, they're getting that box, and they're not looking at any of the added value. They're not looking at the experience that they're giving them. So let me give you an example. I remember I lost, well, I didn't lose, the airline lost my luggage. And so it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm driving to a location, delayed flights, and I got to go to Walmart because I'm in jeans and I got to dress for our dress code. So I made it work at Walmart. So, hey, you can buy dress pants at Walmart for, 30, 40 bucks. Maybe it's higher now, but back then, 30, 40 bucks. Or you can go to, Macy's or Dillard's, brands like that, and you can be paying 70 to 100, 120, 150 for that brand, or you can go to a Nordstrom's or Neiman Marcus. One guy said needless markups, but Neiman Marcus, and then it's even higher. You're paying $200, $300, $400, $500 for a pair of pants, or you can go to a boutique store and you can pay $10,000 or $100,000 for the Hollywood people, right? So what niche, what part of the market are you going to go after? All of those companies I just rattled off, have been successful or were at one time, they've served in all those niches. So we are serving the middle to the middle high end we're serving the do it for me customer. You know, the radio station or that they're dialed in is DIFM, do it for me, not DIY, do it yourself, or a mixture of that. So we're going after a very specific client. And most remodels never think about that. They don't think about like, what, you know, wow, I never thought about a niche buy, you know, like, wow. So that happens in every category. Look at cars. You got cars in all different price categories. And so which one are you going to go after? You are conditioning people to know your brand based on how you price. And they know who and we're not the highest priced in all the territories. We're in the high group, but we're not always the highest price, which is, you know, is impressive. There's some companies getting some really high margins. And Sears, when it was around before that all went away, but a company called American Remodeling Company, Amri, they took over they leased Sears' name for 13% of their sales, and then had anywhere from 15 to 23% cost to get a job. So they could have up to 33%. In other words, to get a $10,000 job, they could have $3,300 in marketing in that fee to Sears. So they had to sell at 300% and 400% markups. So they proved back in the 80s and 90s that you could sell at margins of 67 to 75%, you know, produce margins, but 300 to 400% markup. So we didn't prove that, but we paid attention and says, okay, we can do that. And then we've done it with other brands, and it's a way to scale better. And you know, what customer do you want? And so we're going after a very specific customer.
Well, all right. Well, look, I appreciate all the time that you've given us today, Doug. You've obviously got a lot of experience doing this. You know, I can vouch for your team. You've got an incredible group of people that's working around you, you know, really making this happen for all of your franchisees. You know, I'm so excited to hear about the new group. You know, Lisa and Tom they're awesome. So glad that they've been able to join the DreamMaker family there. But for anyone out there, you know, again, you've got this QR code. You can go to dreammakerfranchise.com to learn more. I'm sure Doug would be happy to answer questions or even connect you with other, you know, franchisees if you want to talk to them and understand what their experience has been. I know almost all of them personally, and they're very great people. They'd be happy to share their experience with you. So if you know, that's something that you're interested in learning more about, then, you know, please do reach out. And they'll help get you connected, and, you know, hopefully you guys will be able to meet in person sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, pleasure being with you all. God bless you, and invite you to take a look if you have an interest. And I pray that you got some nuggets that can help make your business better.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, Eric.